Welcome to StatsAPEC, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation's new statistics portal. Now, business people, government officials, the media, researchers, students and the public at large have free access to an extensive database of APEC-specific statistics. You can find StatsAPEC by typing statistics.apec.org into your web browser or by entering StatsAPEC into any major search engine. StatsAPEC is the only consolidated source of trade, financial and socio-economic data on APEC's 21 member economies. There is over 20 years of data dating back to APEC's inception in 1989. Also, APEC aggregates are available for a broad range of indicators, making it easy to examine the region as a whole. APEC aggregates are a feature unique to StatsAPEC. The StatsAPEC website is made up of two databases. The first is the Key Indicators database, which has over 120 indicators, allowing for detailed analysis of trends in the APEC region. It covers a range of topics including population, gross domestic product, movement of people, education, and the environment. The other database is the Bilateral Linkages database. It is geared more towards detailed analysis of trade and investment flows within APEC and between APEC and the world. It includes statistics on merchandise trade, foreign direct investment, portfolio investment assets, and bank lending. Today's demonstration covers three topics we hope you will find useful. We will start with a demonstration of the functionality and features available on the StatsAPEC website before demonstrating the types of information StatsAPEC can provide about the Asia-Pacific region. We will end by talking about how we source the data for StatsAPEC. This is the StatsAPEC homepage. From the homepage, you can navigate to any part of StatsAPEC or the broader APEC website. At the top of the page, there are links to the home pages for the Key Indicators database and the Bilateral Linkages database. These pages will provide you with more detail on each database and what it includes. There is also a link to the glossary, which includes all the definitions, data notes and sourcing information for the indicators included in StatsAPEC. There is also a Contact Us page for any comments or questions. Because StatsAPEC is used by a wide range of people with different levels of familiarity using statistics, we have tried to make the website as interactive and user-friendly as possible. The front page includes a scroll-over feature. If you put your cursor on any of the APEC economies on the map, or on their names on the sides of the page, the site displays some of the most recent statistics for that economy. If you click on an economy and agree to the terms and conditions, all of the statistics for that particular economy dating back to APEC's inception in 1989 will appear. Of course, users are often looking for more specific data. Clicking the Search Now button on the StatsAPEC homepage brings users to the StatsAPEC search engine, which you can see here. First, select the economies you are interested in by clicking on them. I'll select Australia, Japan, and the United States. Then click the Select button and move to the next step. You then select the indicators in the same way: total population, GDP, and GDP per capita in this case. And finally, you select the years you want. You then click the View Results button to bring up the data. StatsAPEC allows you to view data in two ways. This is the tab view, where each economy's data is shown on a different tab. You can access data on another tab by clicking on the economy's abbreviation, which is just above the names of the indicators selected. The other way to view data is using the list view. Just click on the Switch to List View link on the right side of the page. This is the list view. It allows you to view all of the data you downloaded on one page so that you can compare economies side by side. Another feature of StatsAPEC is the ability to edit your search. Regardless of which view you are in, you can add or delete data. To add data, for example another economy, you click on the Add buttons. The website will take you back to the search engine so that you can add the data you want. You then follow the steps back through the search engine, and eventually it brings up your updated results. To remove data is just as simple. You click on the little X's which appear next to each economy, year or indicator. StatsAPEC also allows you to use data for further analysis. All StatsAPEC data can be exported to Microsoft Excel by clicking on the green Export to Excel button in the bottom right corner. Once data is exported to Excel, you can manipulate it for further analysis using all of the tools available there. The example you just saw uses data from the Key Indicators database, but, as I mentioned, StatsAPEC also includes a Bilateral Linkages database, which is accessible from any page on StatsAPEC. The search engine is very similar to the Key Indicators database. Simply select the report or economy you want, Australia in this case, any indicators you are interested in, merchandise exports, the partner economies you want to see, and the years you want. And up your results. As you can see, the two databases provide almost exactly the same functionality. This section of the presentation focuses on the data within StatsAPEC itself. I will take you through some examples of what you can find using StatsAPEC data, such as basic facts and figures, contribution shares, growth rates, and comparative analysis. We've included an example from each of APEC's 21 member economies. You can use StatsAPEC to find out some very basic facts and figures about APEC and its members. For example, you can see world and APEC aggregates. For population, you can see that in 2008, aggregate world population was 6.7 billion people, of which 2.7 billion lived within APEC economies. Data for several industries can also be found in StatsAPEC, including indices from the World Economic Forum and Fraser Institute. This example illustrates the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index, where Singapore has been ranked number 1 since 2007. Employment in Thailand's services sector has grown substantially since 1989, although it still accounts for one of the lowest shares of total employment among APEC economies. While the services sector accounted for only 21% of total employment in Thailand in 1989, its share had grown to 37% in 2007. You can find out information about telecommunications as well. Interestingly, Russia had the highest rate of internet subscriptions per 100 inhabitants of any APEC economy in 2009. It also had the second highest rate of mobile phone subscriptions after Hong Kong, China. StatsAPEC data also allows you to calculate contribution shares so that you can see how a particular economy contributes to the region or to the world, and also how the region as a whole contributes to the world. For example, Japan has always been a substantial contributor to APEC's real GDP, with its $4.3 trillion of GDP representing 29% of APEC's total in 1991. Japan's GDP has continued to grow and in 2008 was at $5.2 trillion. It continues to be a substantial contributor to APEC's GDP, but as a result of the region growing so much over the intervening 17 years, Japan now represents 21% of APEC's total this period. You can also see that China's total international reserves in 2009, valued at $2.4 trillion, represented 25% of the world's total reserves. StatsAPEC's relatively long time series also makes it easy to calculate growth rates, which allows for better analysis of how economies have performed over time. For example, you can see that GDP per capita in APEC has grown by 47% since APEC's inception to reach over $9,000 in 2008. This outperformed world GDP per capita growth over the same period. You can also see that in 2009 Vietnam's exports were 29 times their level in 1989 and Vietnam's imports were 27 times their level. You can see that while the total level of remittances to the Philippines in 2008 was almost 3 times that of Indonesia, Indonesia's remittances have been growing at a faster rate per year since 1989. You can also chart the growth in FDI stock. Both inward FDI stock to the APEC region and outward FDI stock from the APEC region have grown at similar rates per year between 1989 and 2008, 11 and 12% respectively. StatsAPEC also allows for comparative analysis. The next 4 examples come from the Bilateral Linkages database. For example, you can see that Mexico's imports from Chile are substantially higher than imports from Peru. In 2008, Mexico imported 4 times more manufactured goods and 7 times more non-manufactured goods from Chile than from Peru. The actual US dollar amounts are shown on the map. Next is a comparative analysis using bilateral FDI data. In 2007, 21% of Australia's outward FDI stock in the APEC region was in New Zealand, while Malaysia and PNG each accounted for 1%. Next, we see that in 2008, 50% of Hong Kong China's total portfolio investment was invested within APEC. Of that amount, 6% was invested in Korea, while just 1% was invested in Chinese Taipei. There is also an interesting story in bank lending between US and Canadian banks. Of the foreign bank lending from US banks in 2008, 34% went to APEC economies and only 12% of that went to Canada, a substantial but not overwhelming proportion. However, over 60% of foreign bank lending from Canadian banks went to APEC economies in 2008, over 90% of which went to the US. StatsAPEC's Export to Excel function also allows you to use Excel's graphing abilities to represent data in a graph. For example, this graph shows that the labour force participation rate of women in Brunei Darussalam has increased substantially between 1989 and 2009. In fact, the percentage change difference of 16% for the female labour force participation rate is the highest among APEC economies over this period. There are several gender disaggregated indicators found in the Key Indicators database. These include life expectancy, education indicators, employment, and of course labour force participation rates. As you can see, there are a range of uses for StatsAPEC, but this is not solely APEC's work. StatsAPEC consolidates data from over 30 reputable sources. We are most grateful to these organisations for their assistance and cooperation in providing the data for StatsAPEC. Without them, this resource would not have been possible. That is it for this demonstration. Thank you very much for listening. We hope that you found it interesting and that you will find StatsAPEC useful. We are always happy to answer questions and receive feedback, so please feel free to contact us anytime through our Contact Us page. Thank you.